lots of things survived it.
Set it here. Hi, welcome back to Danny Harris Arts. As you can see, I've got this huge crate on my desk here in front of me, and this crate is all the way from Iceland. And a little backstory on it, before I tell you what's in this, is I met a fella on a wood carving group that I'm in on Facebook, and he lives in Iceland. His name is Vagn. I hope I said that right. It's a tough word. It's tough for me. It's easy for them. It's tough for me. But he was carving this Atlantic salmon, and I was seeing pictures of it. He was posting in the group, and I found out that it's the first fish he's ever carved, and he did it all by hand with no power tools. And from the pictures I've seen online, it's amazing. So I've got the screws out of the top here, and I'm going to reveal it here in just a second with just a little bit of backstory about it. He had seen one of my videos on making fish scale tips, and he was getting to the point where he wanted to burn the scales in it, and he couldn't get any locally, and it was just going to take forever to order what he wanted. And so he saw my video, and he contacted me and asked me if I could be willing to make him some. And I said, yeah, I could probably help you with that. So he got me the size he needed, and so I ended up making the size he wanted, and then 2 or 3 bigger and a few smaller, just in case, you know, he had some wiggle room with it. And I sent them to him, and they got lost in the mail somewhere, and it finally decided he wasn't going to get them, so I remade them and shipped them. This time I sent him with tracking, and it made them to him. But anyway, so the only power he actually used on this is with a wood burner to burn the scales on. So initially, he ended up contacting me and wanted me and asked me if I would paint it. And I initially turned him down because one, I've never painted an Atlantic salmon, and I've never done anything that big, and I wasn't real sure I would be able to do this piece justice. So I was kind of concerned with that. And also I've got a lot of projects coming up that I'm doing personally. But he was kind of persistent, and part of the problem we had was he doesn't speak English, and I don't speak Icelandic. In the Facebook group, when I would see his post, it would be all in the Icelandic language, but there was a translation button I could push and read the translation, and it was kind of hit and miss, but it was always good enough that I could tell what he was saying, and so he was doing the same thing. He could read what I was saying, but we started messaging each other, and when he asked me, when he was talking to me about painting it, and I started thinking, why are these messages in perfect English when he sends me a message, and then I send it back, and we chatted back and forth several times. Well, I found out that a friend of his who lived in the United States for a little while, he's from Iceland, so his friend's name was Bergþór Jóh, and what was going on was Vagn would send Bergþór a message that he wanted to send me, and Bergþór would translate it into English, send it back to Vagn, and then Vagn would send it to me. And when I replied back to Vagn, he would send that message to Bergþór, and he would translate it, send it back to him. Well, it came down to talking about the fish, painting the fish, and like I say, I turned it down a couple times. And then Bergþór started messaging me himself, and we talked back and forth, and he kind of talked me into doing it. He was pretty persistent, and he said Vagn was being persistent with it. So I thought about it for a little while and decided that it would be a good experience for me. And after doing the rainbow trout that I just done, some of the techniques that I learned in Josh's class, and as far as the scale tipping goes, I think that I should be able to do it justice. I hope. So enough talking. I'm gonna look inside here. I've got the screws out already, but I have not looked inside it. So like I said, I've seen pictures of it, but I'm gonna look at it here for the first time. Oh my gosh. Oh Lord. Look at that. The pictures do not do it justice. God. Look, I'm gonna tilt it up here. Why don't you look at this? This is a 40-inch Atlantic salmon. And he has done a superb job on it. The finish is just, it could hang his art like it is. So I'm gonna do my best to paint this thing. And he has sent me a ton of photos, reference photos, good close-up shots, details. He sent me almost 100 today alone, which is fine. I asked him to. And plus, I've been online looking up some online, so that I'll have plenty of reference to do this. I think these fins are just super thin. I mean, I'm jealous because I can't get mine that thin. They are just fantastic. The detail is amazing. So I think what I'm going to do had been kind of going over my head that I'm going to build a cradle for it, and so that I can, it's padded so that I can set it up. But now that I see these fins and how fragile they are, I think what I'm going to do, this is bolted inside the box, but I think what I can do is take this lid and I'm going to bolt it to the lid that was on the top so that I can move it around without doing the fins or damaging the fins. This is only half a carving, so the other side is just flat, so this is going to be a wall hanging. He's got a special piece of wood that he's going to mount it to. But so this is only one side that I'm painting. I should have clarified that a while ago, but I didn't. So I think what I can do is, like I say, just utilize the lid and bolt it to the lid, and then like I say, that'll keep it safe from me bumping into fins, and I could probably prop it up and as I'm working on it. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm ready to start painting this carving. I've taken it and mounted it to the lid of the crate that it was shipped in, and that's just so that I can kind of help avoid bumping into these fins when I move it around. And then I built this cradle. This is just an 1.5 inch wood pine stock, and I just built a simple little cradle to hold it upright when I'm working on it. I had it in my house in the back of my spare bedroom, and here in Arkansas it's 100 degrees and 90% humidity, and when I brought it out outside it started sweating. It'll be fine though. I took a hair dryer and dried it off, and then it's been sitting out here for about an hour now, acclimating to the temperature, and plus it's sealed really well. He did a really good job of sealing the wood, and then once I get the gesso on it, it'll help seal it even farther. And the only time I'm going to be outside working on it is today when I'm doing the airbrushing. The rest of everything else will be done inside at my kitchen table, in the nice comfort of the air conditioning. So and that'll all be done by hand. So what I'm going to be using is acrylic gesso, and for those of you that don't know what gesso is, it's just an acrylic based pigment that's made out of either finely ground marble dust or gypsum. Same thing chalk is made out of. But what it does is it creates not only does it seal it, but it creates a surface that the paint will adhere to really well. Any artist canvas that you buy has been treated with gesso, so that's what I'm going to be doing to start off here. So I'm going to get my airbrush turned on and go get my brushes and start putting the gesso on. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry now for an hour or so, and then I'm gonna start airbrushing the base coats on it. Okay, so I'm gonna be putting some this Createx pearlized white as a starter base coat on it, and it's you probably won't see much of this going on because it's kind of light. I'm just using it to kind of cover up, get some color, start building up the base. So get that on, and then I'll be back with you here in a second because it's going to take a minute. I'm adding a little bit more of pearlized along the belly because it is a little wider. So I want to make sure I get all that white in there, and I just spilled about half of it on me. Here. All right, I think that's got it. So my next color is going to be some silver. Metallic silver that'll come down almost to the belly, so along this back here, and I'm going to save the darker for the top. And this is a Createx, and it's wicked aluminum. I need to let this dry a little bit before I start it, so let me let that dry, and then I'll put this other coat on there. Okay, I got some of this silver, wicked silver in here, and I'm going to start just putting light coats of it here. I'd say it's going to be hard to see this color because it's still pretty light. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry a minute. Alright, after looking at some reference photos, I think I'm going to take this silver a little bit darker. So I'm going to set that up to do that. And I've got an actual metallic black that I'm going to mix with this silver that I just used, just to kind of darken it up. I gotta say, I think I mentioned it already, I've never painted an Atlantic salmon, so he's putting an awful lot of faith in me to get this right. I think I can make it work though. Oh, that looks better. I'm just going to do real light coats so I can build it up. Yeah, I like that better. Now I've got some paper here that I'm going to use as kind of a template. I want to tear it kind of jagged. I don't want it even coat. I want it kind of jagged shape. Alright, that should work. I'm going to go right here. Let me look at the reference photo. Alright. Bit right here to make it look darker. It's showing up right there. That looks good. I like it. A little bit around this maxilla bone here. Like that. Now I'm going to start these fins here. Let me look at. Let's see, I know what I'm going to do this one. Get this over where you can see it better. We'll place right here where it kind of break up that silver line there. Take it off the cradle for a minute. Get underneath these fans here. I'm going to go ahead and mix up a little bit of the darker gray that'll fill these the edges of these fans in, because they're a little bit darker on the ends, then they kind of fade into white into the body. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up the black with that and touch those up. I'm just going to use flat black on that. I'm not going to use this metallic. Good. Okay, I'm gonna put it back on the cradle now, so I'll be back in just a second. So I'm going to mix up now the steel blue green that's on top of the head. And I'm going to have to experiment with that for a minute off camera to get it right. And I want to look at some photos up close to see if I can match that color pretty close. And this is a little bit darker now in here. Because it will be, when the scale tips get on there, it will lighten it back up and give it a silvery shine. So I'm going to do that off camera. Like I say, I'm going to do that off camera, and then get this color right up here, and then I'll come back and spray the top. Okay, I think I've come up with a kind of a bluish green. And I've used this English ivy green with a metallic turquoise and olive green, and then I got a metallic festive green, and I also used a little bit of cad yellow, and then there's a little bit of black in there. So I've got this, and it's hard to see on camera, but I've got this dark, it's kind of a dark metallic olive green that has just a tinge of blue in it, or almost like a blue steel. So I'm going to get the airbrush set up here for that. just going to start on the back here. Start putting light colors on here. I may have to stand up here, so excuse me a minute. You can see the top here. Right, start to color up some, and then I'm going to take my piece of paper. Let me look at another reference photo here a minute. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to put a kind of a jagged line right from the edge of the eye that goes through the gill. Then I'm going to bring this green down a little bit more here too. So let me fill my brush back up. I may go on the top just a little bit darker, just to give it more of a gradation. Holy cow, that's looking good. I'm going to put just a little bit of that through here as well. What do you think, Vagn? Looking good. All right. See if I can tilt this forward and hit some of the light off of it. Now a lot of this will be covered up with scale tipping also, so that green is going to be back behind. It's going to be behind the scale tipping. So I think I do want to come a little darker right on top of the head and or top of the back, but I'm happy with that color down on front here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mix up a little darker color of this green, and all I've done was just added some black to this to make it darker, and I'm going to kind of bring in the top. Let me stand up again. A little bit right there. There we go. And I don't know if you can see it, but I kind of modeled it just a little bit, just to kind of break it up. Because it's not completely even color there. It'll give it a little extra depth of realism. So I'm going to leave that just a little bit mottled there. Okay, so I'm going to leave it right there for tonight and get up in the morning and work on this again. For me, it's going to be about 10 hours. For you, it's going to be a minute or a second. And this is what that'll do, is it'll give me a chance to kind of look at it, and I'm going to study some reference photos. But it'll give me a chance to look at it, and if there's any changes I need to make or want to make, then I can do it before I get too much further into it. So, but anyway, I'm thinking it's looking pretty good for base colors, and I'm anxious to get started on the scale tipping. And the hand detailed work, that's going to take the longest. So the airbrushing usually goes pretty quick, but it's coming out. I'm liking it so far. So what I'm doing here is I made a little template here to kind of mask the body. These pelvic fins have a little white stripe down the side, so I'm going to add that on here. Strip there, and I'm going to tip just the very edge of this dorsal fin. Just a little bit on there, and a little bit on the pectoral fin. Don't have as much as the pelvic fin, so I'm just going to do a tiny bit on there. There's a tiny bit of yellow, kind of a pale yellow in the tail fin, and I'm going to add that in. So I'm going to add this yellow. There's a little bit of yellow right through here, so I'm just going to put a very little in there, just to give it a little bit of, this is real light, you're probably not even going to see that on there. And maybe a tad bit back here. Okay, that's going to be it for all the airbrush base colors. The rest will be a lot of hours of hand detailing and scale tipping. Okay, that's going to be it for this Atlantic salmon carving project that I didn't carve, but I am painting it. And as you can see, I've got all the base colors airbrushed in, and now I'm going to be taking it in and starting the long, tedious process of doing all the hand painting details, scale tipping, and just adding some more color in here and there. All the iridescence will go on, but it's going to take a while to do that because of the size. But as you can see, I've got all of the base colors on, and a lot of it is metallic, so that'll be kind of below the scale tipping. But I'm excited to see how it's going to turn out, and I appreciate y'all watching. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them for me in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you consider subscribing. Give me a thumbs up if you like these videos. It helps my channel grow. And I will see you on part 2 of this project.